Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight on 207. I'm Samantha York.
And I'm Rob Caldwell. Coming up this evening, we are taking a trip to the Public Theater in Lewiston and talking to the cast of Grandma Gatewood Took a Walk. The show opens tomorrow and has a special connection to Maine. What is it? You'll find out.
And later this half hour, we're taking a look at upcoming concerts around the state with Aimsel Ponti from the Portland Press-Herald, including where you can see Peter Galway perform. But first tonight, in the 1980s, Jeff Stevenson spent some of his spare time walking the streets and wharves of Portland, often with a camera in hand. Stevenson worked as a commercial photographer, but the photographs he took outdoors, especially along the waterfront, were for his own enjoyment.
Now he has collected the best of those images in a new book called Photography and Transformation, Portland, Maine in the 1980s. It's a look back at the city at a time when it was going through some dramatic changes.
The photos that Jeff Stevenson shot in the 1980s did not come about because he was just ambling around hoping to get lucky. His approach was exactly the opposite, deliberate and thoughtful.
I would walk around the old port and I'd look at things and I'd think, maybe at 4 o'clock on a day with an interesting sky, this would be a good shot. And I would jot notes down to myself.
Stevenson wanted to document Portland, especially the waterfront of the 1980s, with all its grit and character.
Clearly what was part of the visual draw for you was buildings that are old and kind of falling apart.
Yes, this is true, because they have a lot of texture. They also were disappearing, and I thought that that was worth photographing, and that it was something I had to do soon.
Some of what Stevenson photographed was indeed gone just a few years later, such as a Portland Terminal Company building on China Clay Pier, old elevator machinery in the Swayze building on Commercial Street, the $1 Million Bridge between Portland and South Portland, and Vinnie Cavanaugh in his boat shop.
This is fascinating because January 1982, this looks like it could be 1932.
I know.
With the stove.
The potbelly stove, and yet he has these posters that were popular in college bedrooms.
I remember the hang in there, baby, with that. I remember that one
this
well.
one, tired of the same old, we won't say it.
Other scenes are still around. Here's a look at the outside of the Porthole restaurant then and now. The inside of the Porthole then and now. The slip between Custom House Wharf and Portland Pier as it was and as it is. And the J.J. Newberry building on Congress Street then and now. At the time, Stevenson worked with an 8x10 camera generally used for commercial photography.
How would you describe, in a nutshell, the kind of images that you got with this camera?
I would describe them as hyper-real.
The camera, quite large, easily noticed, helped break the ice on the rare occasions when he photographed people.
They were sometimes amused by the camera. You know, it's kind of like, you want to photograph our old junk? Yeah, sure, go ahead, you know.
You took these photos 4 decades ago, long time. What made you think, at some point fairly recently, that they ought to be collected and put into a book?
I figured it was now or never. And I thought it's worth saving and seeing. Or else I can just throw them all away and not worry about it. And I thought, no, this effort was worth looking at.
It's interesting. It's not that long ago. It's only 40 years ago, but the city has changed.
Dramatically. It is gone from being a place where you could basically wander as far as you dared, and then now it's a place that's much more gated off. And properties they don't encourage people to walk in and just look around.
It must be gratifying to you to know that a book will endure and therefore the photos will last and they're not just going to be tucked away in a closet somewhere.
Yeah, that's very satisfying. And in fact, the day after I mailed the copy to a friend of mine, an old friend of mine in Connecticut, he called me up and he said, "You have a legacy now." And I said, "Geez, I thought that was my kids, but but yeah, it's true. I know what he means."
A legacy indeed. A lasting photographic document of what Stevenson calls an era when time seemed to move more slowly.
Man.
There's something about those black and white photos
Yes.
taken on film with one of those great old cameras. They're really special.
Well, and I love something that he said in the beginning when you asked me, you know, like, why are you taking pictures of these buildings? They're all falling apart. And he's like, the texture of it, which to me says, okay, you're not just going out there to photograph a pretty picture. You want to capture the essence of what is really out there for the viewers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, the name of Jeffrey Stevenson's new book is Photography and Transformation, Portland, Maine in the 1980s.
Coming up next on 207, how one woman's solo hike through the Appalachian Trail inspired the latest play at the Public Theater in Lewiston.
These days, it's not uncommon to hear about someone hiking the entire Appalachian Trail. But back in the 1950s, it was almost unheard of.
That time period and the trail, which stretches from Georgia to Maine, is at the heart of the Public Theater's latest show, Grandma Gatewood Took a Walk. We spoke with the cast about the play's connection to Maine and the lessons learned while living life on the trail.
Most of the really significant moments of this play happen in Maine. So it's a great place to have this play be set here, and in this particular area. This theater itself is just perfect for this kind of intimate yet vast production.
And the story takes place in 1955. You play Emma, Grandma Gatewood, who one day decides to pack a bag, walk the Appalachian Trail solo, becoming the first woman to do so. Some people in the audience might be surprised to know this is a true
story.
Mm-hmm. What did you think when you heard that?
Oh, I was amazed. What I thought was, why have I not heard of Grandma Gatewood before now? It's such an incredible story of courage and breaking bonds of being caught in a repeating cycle of there had been abuse in her home life, and she broke free and made some pretty stellar accomplishments along the way.
Did you find yourself researching the character just because you could? Did
Yes.
you learn anything surprising that you kind of wove into your own portrayal?
Well, as soon as you start trying to get into YouTube and finding what you can, you start getting inundated. And I was just almost overwhelmed with the stories of her. And I'm hoping that happens with other people who go home afterwards.
And Bob, you play the character simply known as Man. How does he fit into the story, and how does he help kind of move the plot along?
Spoiler alerts, I suppose. I play Man and maybe a surprise or two. I would suggest the two main men that I play are her father and her husband, but they're both huge influences on her life, not always in a good way. I think they drive her to this accomplishment.
Are there any moments or scenes in particular that you think the audience will really either enjoy or might take something away from?
I think the beauty of the trail is obviously one that I'm inspired. I have been looking up hikes that my husband and I can do as soon as I get home. I felt very inspired by someone up in age who was still grinding it out, just working hard. And actually, this play is like my Appalachian Trail. It really, it's a wonderful journey, and I'm glad I'm not solo on this one, because he's just the most. I'm not going to do any spoiler alerts, but I have, calling my husband, you got to see this guy. He's incredible. He boom, boom, boom at the drop of a hat. He's in and out, and he's in and out as several characters. The depth to which he can portray them within seconds of each other is just that's worth the price of admission and then some.
Is it hard to do that?
It's a challenge, but it's also extremely exciting. There's no lag. I mean, you're just going from one to another, so that the time period, just the 2-hour traffic of our stage, of this play, just goes by so quickly for me.
As actors working on stage, you know, it's nice. It's nice to have a stage to work on. But
yes.
when you see the set come to life, that is when everything really starts to come together. The set here is beautiful. What did you guys think when you saw this come to life here?
Just the set itself was amazing. You've got the moss growing on things and then the lights coming in, and you can feel them, whether you're even looking at them. You can feel
It's like you're on the trail.
really, you go through all those states, and everyone has its personality, and it's reflected in the mood and what you see.
When the show is all over, do you think you guys are gonna pack a bag and hike the Appalachian Trail yourself?
Yeah. Well, you know, when I first met my husband, I was a lot younger. One of our joint bucket list things was that we're going to do the Appalachian Trail. And now I'm kind of rethinking that a little bit and go, well, there's 544 miles of it in Virginia, and that's close to, I come from Maryland, so believe me, it's kind of stunning how inspired I am by this, that I'm thinking, oh, I could maybe get some hiking poles for Christmas, and then I can ask for this and that.
What about you, Bobby? You think you're gonna go hiking?
Well, my wife and I actually do quite a lot of hiking. The longest backpack we did was 2.5 weeks from the southern to the northern borders of Glacier National Park, and then we've done kayaking in Prince William Sound in Alaska, and so
You're up for it.
I'm up for it. Yeah.
Grandma Gatewood Took a Walk opens at the Public Theater tomorrow and runs through May 17th. Just a heads up, this is a PG-rated show, as there is mention of domestic violence and abuse. For ticket info or more about the play, just head to our website or app.
And when we return, Press Herald music writer Aimsel Ponti joins us to preview upcoming concerts around the state, including where you can see the big band, the Fog Cutters.
Maine's live music scene never sleeps, which is why we always bring on Portland Press Herald's music writer Aimsel Ponti to give us a little snapshot of what we can check out this month, because there's always a concert or a show to go to.
Always, 7 nights a week.
Doesn't matter if it's snowing, raining, whatever. All right, and so we've got, who do we have coming to town?
All right, so I've got 5 shows for you.
Yes.
But let me first tell people, because it's not even on the list, I'm already breaking protocol. Head to Footlights Theater. The Mama Cass Elliott story opens this week. It runs for 3 weeks, starring Eliza Ruth Watson, who just experienced a whole lot of health issues, and like a trooper, like a rock star, had massive surgery, all sorts of cancer stuff, and she's back on stage as Mama Cass, and she's an amazing singer, one-woman show. So go check that out. And now I will segue right into my official list.
All right.
I'm going to mispronounce a name right out of the gate. Nigel, it could be Werne, it's Wearne. But regardless, this Australian singer-songwriter is great. He was described with the vocal swagger of Van Morrison and dark spirituality and intelligence of Nick Cave. And who am I to argue?
And I don't wish to lie.
This is Friday night at the Boothbay, tomorrow night at the Boothbay Opera House. There are still some tickets left. That should be a good show. Got some rockabilly, got all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah, and a name we do know. We have an evening with Peter Galway.
Oh, so Peter Galway. I finally interviewed Peter. He and I have corresponded for years. I used to play him on my old radio show. One of the greatest songwriters living in the state of Maine, and certainly beyond that. So it's an evening with Peter Galway, Friday, May 15th at the Hill Arts up on Munjo Hill in Portland.
It's good trouble, good kind of trouble, just like you said, just like they say, my sister and my brothers.
And it includes a copy of his book, his new memoir, which is called Hardtail Strat, Guitars, Heroines, Songs, and Stories. I read it. It's written kind of with song lyrics and in poem form. Such an easy read, but also like a very compelling read. So it's like you're not reading War and Peace, but he's an incredible writer. He tells his story of hanging out with people like Joni Mitchell and The Who, and He's just this humble guy, but he's so talented, and the book is so good. And this is going to be a very special night, Friday, May 15th, the Hill Arts in Portland.
All right, and then the next night, you can head on over to the Stone Mountain Arts Center.
Whatever it's called.
Brownfield.
Yeah, so Amy Helm, she comes to Maine every so often. She's only doing a tiny, like 3 shows on the whole East Coast, and Stone Mountain is one of them.
I come from Arkansas, roses, hard times, broken noses, backbeats, backseats.
She is such a great singer-songwriter. She's been doing music her whole life. Her album from 2024 is called Silver City is so good. Born into a musical family, her father is the late and very great Levon Helm from the band, and her mother is a singer, I just realized, also deceased, named Libby Titus, who's also, that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. And fun fact, her stepdad, actually, Donald Fagen of Steely Dan, there's a fun fact. But Amy's so good. Again, been playing music her whole life, such a good singer-songwriter. That is going to be a great show. I think that hopefully we'll head for a sellout. Again, Saturday, May 16th, Stone Mountain Arts Center.
All right, and then for music lovers everywhere, we've got the All Roads Music Festival.
Okay,
happening.
this is
a big deal.
ridiculous. This is so huge. The All Roads Music Festival has happened for a decade in May in Belfast. Hold that thought. That one's going to happen in October. This is the first time that Meg Charette and her team is bringing the festival to Portland Friday night and Saturday. Here are the venues. Are you ready? State Theater, One Longfellow Square, Mechanics Hall, Oxbow Live, Space Flask, Gino's Rock Club, Portland House of Music, and Blue. And there are several ticket options. You get a 2-day pass, a 1-day pass, a venue pass. Friday night, I'm not going to tell you the whole list, but little snapshot. Monrovia, so good at the State Theater with Palaver Strings and our Maine's own Oshima Brothers. Yeah. Meanwhile, down the street at Oxbow Live, they'll have Small Pond and Woods and a mystery band and a band called Faye Lacey, I think I'm saying that right, at Gino's Rock Club. And then Saturday, again, just a snapshot. This is crazy. Bahamas at Portland House of Music, Miles Bullen, Becca Biggs, Savoir Faire, she's so great. Angelica Farray, Genevieve Stokes, the Mama, The Beaches, Louisa Stanzioff, Mouth Washington, a band with the greatest name ever, Thelma and the Sleaze, and my hairstylist, DJ Jamie O'Sullivan. Yes, you know, I don't wake up with this hair. Jamie takes care of me right down the street, actually, in the State Theater building. He has a DJ set at Flask. It is going to be a phenomenal weekend of music. Nice. And I'm not even done. I have one more show.
No, we have the Fog Cutters.
Yes, foggy forecast.
In spring.
May 22nd, Johnson Hall Opera House in Gardner. Good excuse to go to that wonderful venue. 19-piece big bands, standards, several originals, 2 singers, tons of horns, all local. That's going to be a great night out in Gardner.
And time.
There you have it.
All kinds of good music happening, and a show at the Footlights Theater, all kinds of stuff.
And
to check out.
And each time I come back, so I'll be back in a few weeks. We inch closer to the night in Bangor where we can hear Toto sing Africa and Christopher Cross sing Sailing all on the same night.
I'm going to start fanning you now.
Start fanning me now. And not to mention, I heard Barry Manilow on the drive over here, and I'm hysterical on many levels, per usual.
Right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
Show us what's going on. If you want to learn more about these shows, just head to the 207 section of our website and app. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this.
Coming up tomorrow on 207, growing up, composer Chris Child was always drawn to music.
Chris started taking piano lessons as a child while living in Japan and says his mother and grandfather were big fans of classical music. That love for creating his own sound eventually propelled him into the entertainment industry, except he wasn't composing classical scores for orchestras, but instead synthesized sounds for the hugely popular video game Rock Band. We decided to pay him a visit to see his creativity at work. We'll check in with him tomorrow on 207.
That's our show for this evening. Thanks for being with us.
We'll see you back here tomorrow at 7 for more 207.